we are at it over here, recording away. Let me check the screen real quick. Good here. All right. So, back at it again. Been a hot minute. School started, everything that is the craziness of the world. Nick has been doing his thing. He mentioned like the weekends. And I didn't know how long we'd have here for a recording, so we just decided to do a quick one. I know Nick's been doing some after-school stuff with his team already, and he's taking over as the head coach over there down that way. So that's great news for him, and we'll get him back on soon. And maybe weekends get kind of hard around here, but maybe we'll throw that in there one weekend, or maybe we'll figure it out if we get lucky with our seasons, and we can have like a after tournament recording or something. I don't know.
We got to get to that. Got to get to that point first.
So on the positive note, though, so at this current point in time, I do have a schedule built or made, and now it's just a matter of having the sign-ups at school or putting out the feelers for people to come out, because football numbers at middle school have been low. So if football numbers are low, that just generally figure all numbers across the board will probably be a little bit low. But we'll still put out those feelers, try to get as many of those guys out as we can, along with our returners. Didn't have a whole lot of middle school is kind of weird, like you only have them for 2 years. So having returners is kind of, sometimes we have more new guys in 8th grade than we did returners from 7th grade, so it just changes from year to year. That being said,
having those returners also kind of helps us out a lot, because it's easier to have some people, even though they're still middle schoolers, it's easier to have some people who've been in the system and they know what we expect, and
just following the routine of practice, and knowing how to, and have somebody to, maybe they're not as good of an athlete as somebody or something, but they know the routines, and the people know who to look at to see, all right, what are we doing next and how does this work and things like that. So looking forward to, fingers crossed, as you said, trying to get back into that grind. There have been all the rumor mills about season still possibly getting pushed back till January or something like that, which,
I may be okay with that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not mad at that idea. I'm actually kind of, the way school is and everything else still is right now, it's still really, really new. It's still really, really different.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, I'm okay with that. Give us a little more time, because the way we're doing it with our hybrid schedule, even though we're coming up on the first report card, there's no way to get around feeling like we have been there the full time. Like, it still just feels like we've been there half the time. And, we kind of have, so I don't know. It's just,
if there is a vote, I'm not saying that there's going to be, but if there's a vote about when we should have our season, I would totally say let's do January. I mean, you think about what has been some of our biggest problems in the past. It's, around the holiday season, we lose kids not coming into practice, or can't make it to tournaments and stuff. And
it's coming up on that time of year where it's already going to be flu and cold and other season anyway. And as we're starting to learn, there is no way to know what something is. So if somebody does have a cold or the flu, which you don't want them around anyway, because nobody wants that period, and that kind of stuff can run through a team, but they're not taking any chances. And instead of just being like, stay out until you're gone, like if you don't get tested, you're still quarantined for X number of days. So in middle school, 2 weeks is a season killer,
Oh yeah. I was quarantined, what was it, a couple weeks ago. I didn't think I had it or anything, but I was sick with something. I never found out what it was, because by the time I even got my results back, I'd already felt somewhat fine. But my girlfriend, she had what she thought was allergies, and didn't think anything of it. Next couple of days, I happened to be over there, and she mentioned that her mom and her sister had not been feeling great. Again, same thing, just kind of allergies, coughing a little bit. Nothing bad though, but for some reason, I got it, and for about 5 days, I was like running a fever and all this stuff. I had felt like someone was sitting on my chest. I was coughing. Because of my symptoms, though, I was trying to go to a doctor to see see if they could check me out. and but because of my symptoms, no doctor's office would even let me in the building.
Yeah.
Even the urgent cares, they were like, "No, you're not allowed to come in."
The only
You know,
thing you
you
can
have
go do
to.
is go get tested. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, you got to get tested. Once you get your negative test results back, then you can come in. And I mean, I wasn't as worried about it because, it's I know where my girlfriend's been. She doesn't really do anything. She's got a compromised
And
immune system.
yeah.
Her mom works from home, and I mean, her sister, she goes to school, but you know, she wasn't feeling bad or anything, and there hadn't been any. I don't think there was any outbreak around her. I knock on wood. Um,
Yeah.
so apparently, I developed like a really bad sinus infection or cold or bronchitis or something, and
Or like I said, I mean,
put me out.
we just don't know, and everything affects differently. So,
Oh yeah,
but
I mean,
all that
because
being
it's so
said,
common. I mean,
yeah. All that being said, let's hope we get to have some sort of a season. Like I said, I'm down with waiting a little bit to get by this time of year where you have all these oddities anyway, and then not throw on top of that the COVID thing and like the whole like whether you're tested or not, and like somebody being out for 2 weeks, and then like imagine if it's the last 2 weeks of season, like good gosh, like like
oh,
what
yeah.
happens, for us, but.
I'd hate that for especially for the kids that go to state and all that. I mean,
Yeah. So, it's a tough
which
deal.
that's another interesting thing. How are we going to do state? I mean, we were talking about tournaments I think it was last night or something, but
Yeah.
I mean, you have kids coming from different areas where different areas are hotbeds and different areas are not.
So,
Are you going to exclude some kids from coming because they come from a hotbed, or
I mean, I don't even know if I wonder if part of weigh-ins will now be the temperature check or what. Like, we haven't gotten that information yet, so we just really don't know as
so
of
that's
yet.
one more thing. That's one more thing we can sit there and instigate on and be like, oh no, that's a 99.9. That's way too close.
Yep,
He's
yep, yep.
got to.
I'm gonna mess with Cam some more. These guys are all
Yeah,
hot.
we got one more thing to mess with them on.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. But we do have a schedule. We're just waiting on one date confirmation. Then I'll get you up with that schedule. Looks like if we do have it, we got home matches in December, and then January is our travel month. So it's like a half and half, not bad. On to some wrestling talk. A couple things I wanted to hit really quick today, and I didn't get a chance to send you an itinerary because it's kind of quick. One,
Never stick to them anyway.
yeah, we always go with something. Zahid Valencia, it's kind of a dual one. Zahid Valencia is now our guys over at Terra Grappler.
Yeah.
Like they were kind of talking about it, hinted that they could and might, and then dude's got hopefully a shoe coming out, or looks like they kind of leak little pictures of things as they do. I'm going to reach out to them again. Maybe we can get them on and tell us a little bit about how that worked out for them, and tell us about how I want to keep spending my money. But since we haven't had a season yet, I can't justify the next shoe. Like I want the Matterborn or Matterborn.
Those are those look so cool.
They do.
Absolutely.
I want them, but I'm like, yo, we need to get wrestling first, before I can justify some more. But those are a sharp-looking shoe. It's that split sole that reminded me of the Joker from the original shoe that I really liked. And there's that really kind of kickstarted me on them and their brand and everything else. So kudos to them for getting Zahid, which then leads into, did you see it coming? Like, when they said that Zahid was wrestling again, like they've been doing this with like the wrestling, which is great. I love seeing these cards.
Did not see it being Jordan Burroughs though.
No, yeah.
I was figuring. I mean, there was 100 other people I probably would have thought. I honestly thought maybe someone like Dieringer or
yeah, I was thinking that too.
Because like someone like that. But
and this
when I saw Jordan Burroughs, I was like,
Burroughs is going up 2 weight classes here, then, or
yeah.
So. Or is there going to be a catch weight? I haven't really seen anything that says any of that. Like, is Zahid really light for his weight? Or, like, I mean, what's the weight class system? Because, I think that's what also makes this match interesting. Like, if Burroughs is giving up a lot of weight, all of a sudden I think we got a much more interesting match than, Burroughs' weight class.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of can his athleticism and I got a package there.
1, 2. Wait a minute. Okay. No, okay. All right. So,
Just a minute.
so it's exactly. Does his athleticism make up for the weight disadvantage and strength disadvantage? You would assume too. With although Burroughs does not by any means look like he would be not as strong, but given weight class and strength, I mean, like it's an obvious thing that it's not obvious, but it's a scientific thing that kind of like with our athletes, bigger weight class and they're in shape, they would probably be proportionally stronger.
I mean, when you look at these world class level athletes, I mean, it's not like here in high school where you can wrestle a weight class or two up and still, the strength advantage still maybe even out.
Yeah.
When you get to that level, it's everything's peak.
Everything counts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that with Chamizo and Dake. As boring as a match that was, and as much as Chamizo said he wanted to come up, that weight difference matters. I mean, when you start carrying around that weight of someone else who is, X amount of pounds heavier than you, it wears you out because you're not used to it.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so that's where I'm like, at first you think anybody but Dake, you choose Jordan Burroughs right off the bat. Okay, like on any of these, I don't know if you want to call them pay-per-view or cards or whatever they're calling them. Which, by the way, I am loving that not just Flow, but everybody is like putting one out. Like,
oh yeah.
Did you see the Money Meredith versus DeSanto?
Huh? I did not see that. How did I miss that?
Yeah, I don't know. That one's gonna be on Track Wrestling, and not DeSanto, but Meredith had the greatest Instagram post or tweet on it.
Yeah.
He goes, how am I going to talk trash to somebody with no social media account? I was like, and it was kind of a dig, but it was kind of just funny too. But it's like, so true though, like, how can I get him hyped up for this without just
you don't need to hype up DeSanto.
No, you don't, but like what him and Seth Gross were able to do when they started, like with that presence and doing things, it's kind of like, man, I really want to do that, and this would be a way you could do that. But he can't now because he doesn't have an account on anything. I don't think so. Yeah,
I mean, which is weird. You'd think DeSanto would have one, but I guess it's for his own good. I think it's probably I think it's like commentary brands are like, look,
or if he does, he doesn't really get on it or anything.
I can see them saying like for your own good and for the university's own good, please don't have us.
Yeah. And also, like, I'd heard something like, all the DeSanto memes and everything like that. Like, somebody was like, nobody hates Flo more than DeSanto does. As much as, like, they use him for everything. Like, I don't know if, like, that means, like, makes you wonder, like, what's his personality really like? Is he just really, like, I've been victimized by this meme and company and everything else. Why would I ever want to do anything? I don't know. But all that backtracking back to Burroughs and Valencia, I think it's an awesome matchup. I think because it adds a level of intrigue and mystery to, like what we said, would normally be all right, Burroughs next topic, unless it's Dake, where not to diminish the value of any of the other guys at that weight class, like Aymar and all those guys, because no matter what happens, it's going to be great. That weight's going to be awesome. But that's generally how you think of it. So I'm really curious and excited to see how that match works out. So, and then
who do you have for that one?
Again, it's the whole thing of hard to go against Burroughs, but I'm going to go with right now. I'm going to say Valencia if it's up a weight class and he's wearing the Terra Grapplers. Even though I did see, is that another Valencia brother at who's number one? I meant to post that. I took a picture. He was wrestling in the Supernovas at the final match of Flo's who's number one high school match. Rocking the Supernovas out there. I thought that was kind of cool. He lost in like quadruple overtime, but I'm going to go Terra Grappler and Valencia if it's up 2 weight classes.
Yeah, depending on the weight. I
would say if there's a catch weight and he's cutting kind of hard maybe to make this happen, then the cut
I'm still gonna
out the strength,
Yeah. I'm still going to go – I think I still may go Burroughs. As much as I want to see those Terra Grapplers get the dub, because, I mean, they're amazing shoes.
Yeah.
I just can't bet against Burrows, and
Oh,
then
no, I mean,
it also depends if Valencia is on the happy grass or not. So
well, I'm imagining everything's good because we're coming up on who all's entered at senior nationals this weekend at those weights too. So, which was going to be another topic, but I'll ask you that here in a second. But I agree with you on that. But I imagine he's pretty clean right now because we're coming up on that year, and he needs to be if he wants to compete and try it. So I think we're good there.
speaking of, have
although
you
I took
heard
him out of
anything
the
about NCAA wrestling? I mean, we've seen a lot of talk on college football,
Mhm.
and it seems to be okay. I mean, there's games being canceled due to COVID outbreaks. Same with the NFL. It seems these like bubble sports are doing the best, but I haven't heard anything about wrestling season, and wrestling season is here for
And-
colleges.
And that's what I'm saying is like I know they've started practicing again, but it's the same thing with the high school wrestling. I literally think they're just waiting for football to end in order to make a decision. It feels like because like you hear nothing about it one way or another. You don't hear like preseason tournaments are coming up, this thing's coming up. Like we haven't heard like anything about events happening. And same thing with like middle and high school. We're just sitting here, we're making our schedules, but yet we're not told anything. So we're just kind of eking along like it's going to happen until we hear something. And I haven't heard anything about NCAA's. And it kind of like worries me because I see more of now here's the flip side I was going to say, I see more and more of these, cards being hosted by different people, and they're throwing some people out there like Rum Bravo Young's wrestled, and some of these other guys from Cornell, and some of these other guys from Rutgers, and people have wrestled, and these are college athletes, so they're not getting paid for it. But do they know something we don't know? Are people trying to get matches in because they don't know if they're having a season or what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter, maybe. I don't think the NCAA would have informed the wrestlers and the wrestlers not say anything. I feel like out of the thousands of NCAA wrestlers, someone would have leaked something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, it could be the coaches saying, I suggest doing these matches, not telling them. I mean, because the other thing is you still have people cutting weight, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's guys in that room who are probably trying to cut weight, getting ready for the season. And if they don't have a season, I feel bad for them. I know I'm on edge. I'm on edge really wanting to get back out on the mats and do all these things. But at the same time, it's like, I feel for the people competing, like especially the ones at that next level. I mean, you had NCAAs taken away from you last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine the people like the Austin O'Connors, the Spencer Lees, we can go down the list, the Real Woods, like all these people who are probably chomping at the bits.
Oh, I saw Real Woods and Stanford, like this is their last season unless something changed. And imagine if your last season was no season.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to mention him. I mean, it's for him. It's like now or never in a sense. I mean, yeah, you can always transfer somewhere, but then you have to look at probably sitting out a year and
depending on
doing all this stuff. And I mean, these people, I know I love wrestling, but I'm sure these guys in college, I'm sure they love it just as much.
This is what they're doing right. This is their thing right now. This is what they are doing.
Especially like those. Like you look at people like Spencer Lee and Dayton Fix and all these guys who are doing it at like senior level as well, or who probably will go on to do stuff for like world teams. It's probably a bigger deal to them than just your average D1 wrestler, who's thinking of going into the workforce or MMA or something. I mean, so it's something that I really feel for the competitors right now. I try not to be as selfish and think like, oh, I just want wrestling. I want this. I mean, I know we have to look for the safety.
That are doing it right now. Yeah, it's just a different thought and a different feel to it. So
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a lose-lose. I mean,
yeah,
you're putting them. They're going to be at risk if they compete, but they want to do that. So it's if you take competing away from them, you're also taking away something that's essential to them.
That's another reason why I kind of want to see like things waiting off until January possibly, so that we have a little bit more number, a little more data, a little more like, okay, we have a plan. We're out of in January. Hopefully, we're out of like the illness season where we don't know which one it is. Is it your regular run of the mill this time of year flu stomach bug thing, or is it COVID? So let's try to take out one of those equations so that we're not playing the guessing game of which one is it, and then and kind of go on from there. So it's a crazy thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of things we can talk about today too, but there's one thing I'm going to look at Flo, just kind of do a quick scroll through. Pickups on some of the things we may have wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Well, while you're looking at that, I was going to say two things. One, you mentioned Dayton Fix, and we haven't heard any more about him, but that one blew my mind where he tested positive for something from USADA or something like that. And then it's like we haven't heard anything more about that. That one kind of blew my mind up a little bit.
Yeah, they're probably those USADA process, it's such a long, arduous process.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're trying to – because I'm sure if it's nothing, what's happening right now is he's having to go back and if he's saying it's a tainted supplement, if it's a tainted supplement, he has to go back, find the supplement he used,
prove
and then they have to look at that
company. A lot of legalities and everything else. I get it, but that one still blew my mind. But the other one where you're looking at Flo, back to Jordan Burroughs.
I was going to mention biceps Brucky, but yeah, go ahead.
What about Burroughs? Did you see what Burroughs said to David Taylor?
Right? I did not.
I imagine it was in jest, but Burroughs intrigues me, because sometimes he takes things. We've mentioned it before. He takes things to a level of to amp himself up and bring him to the level of competition that he needs to take things personally in cases, right? And we've said it looks like he's been able to do this, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think he does it maliciously. He does it in order to get him ready for what he's got to do. Right now, he's got nothing against David Taylor that I know of, or whichever. But the tweet that he goes, "Hey, shouldn't I be called the Magic Man because I made you vanish from my weight?" And it was just completely out of the blue, but such a beautiful statement. It's whoa. That's
a burn.
That's
one of those boom
roasters. Come with the burn for and why did he bring the heat on DT like that? It's where did this come from?
Yeah, that's boom roasted, as Ben Askren says.
Exactly. So that one just made me laugh, and since we were talking about Jordan Burroughs earlier, but yeah. The only other thing I was gonna say is dude, senior nationals this weekend, and even Devin I think noticed that. He saw some ads for it and stuff. I was like, can we watch it? I was like, yeah, we can watch it. But this time of year, normally it seems like we would already be talking about other college stuff. And I was like, dude, it's just that. It's just these cards. There's nothing else on stuff right now. And it's kind of whoa.
No, yeah, I mean, no, exactly. Because I know that we've done episodes in the past where we'll talk, it'd be a senior level tournament, and also let's look at preseason stuff. Yeah. But it's right now we don't know if we even have a season to have a preseason for one.
Yeah.
But I mean, senior nationals going to be great. Another thing I wanted to mention though is I'm excited that Pat Brucky is coming to Michigan.
That is right. I don't know how I blanked on that one.
That one is big. That adds some more firepower to the top of our lineup. So I'll be excited to see him in the blue and maize.
Yeah. All right. I'm kind of upset. I was trying to I looked up senior nationals, and I was just trying to look up the brackets for that real quick. I think we need to look up some stuff on that, find a little bit more, but I'm super excited just to see some names on the mat again. Kyle Snyder's entered in. There's a potential matchup between former Ohio State guys being at the same weight, Luke Pletcher and Joey McKenna at the same weight. I mean, I want to look up more things, but the more I find out about senior nationals, the more I'm yes, wrestling is kind of back, but it's the wrestling that never really kind of left, minus the Olympics, taking that
some
hit.
of it. I'm still I still always looking at, I always love watching wrestling stuff, looking at articles and whatnot. I'm never gonna stop that. We've talked about it before. We don't consider it an obsession, but other people will. But here recently, part of me has, I don't want to say not a lot, but part of me has kind of refrained from looking at stuff just because I'm so worried about getting my hopes up.
Yeah.
And than them getting crushed. I mean, I know that's kind of a
Mhm.
childish, petty thing to do, but like, it just, if I start getting myself hyped up for a season or a particular matchup that I want to see, and God forbid one of the athletes who gets COVID and it goes down the drain. I mean, that's you get all hyped up and then it's kind of like nothing, and it sucks, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's
All right.
this is an interesting time.
Well,
One thing I wanted to ask you,
okay.
unrelated to any matchups and all that, have you watched the Metcalf little series on
I was
Flow?
going to say something about that too. Yeah, I have watched the first one. I have not watched the third one. Just came out this week, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I watched
wait,
the first one, and I
yeah,
just
the
haven't
third
sat
one.
down to watch the second two yet.
Yeah, I haven't started it. Part of me's been waiting until the whole thing
Yeah, just say you can.
goes, that way I can binge it.
Yeah,
But at the
because they're
same
like
time, I keep seeing the
30 or
little
45
trailer.
minute things of them. So
Yeah.
it's nothing so far. It's nothing like new. Like
Oh yeah. I mean,
parts of it from, like you said, from watching all the trailers and following Metcalf and everything else like that. But I mean, I enjoy it though. Like I enjoy these flow films that they make and the
oh yeah,
options and
absolutely.
stuff like that. So Metcalf is one that I've wanted to see for the longest time, and I just love his persona and his attitude and go get itness of things, and also like how frank he is on things. And he's like one of the things that they're like, "Oh, you're Metcalf. You're like a world this and a world that." And he goes, "No, I'm a nobody. I never did place at Worlds. I never just did all those things."
Dad,
What's up, bud?
come in.
Yeah, you guys come upstairs. Come.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like,
No, I'll tell you,
and then you're
these
like,
flow
"Oh,
films.
you're right. He is world class elite, but never did quite do it at that tournament."
Yeah. Well, he never could stay healthy too. That was his issue. He had a lot of like
and he'd
ankle
always
issues.
get that horrible first round draw, and then
Yeah.
or something would happen, and then he wouldn't get pulled back in, and you're like, how did he not get pulled back in? That guy should have won, So just like,
Yeah.
fortunate with him,
Now-
just and everything else.
One thing about these flow films that I love, I don't know if you remember this documentary. It was a little mini documentary. It was called Dog Days. I think it was called Dog Days. It covered Minnesota's wrestling team back when they had trying to think of all the people they had back then. Okay, I'm drawing a blank on some of the names. But I think it was maybe back in like 2006 or whatnot. But it just covered their team and like the the practices and like what the wrestlers do, how they eat and stuff like that. Obviously it's got Jay Robinson in there talking. It's a good little documentary. And I remember when I was in high school, I actually used to watch it a lot. And I may even look it up tonight and watch it. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I mean, I love that little.
I haven't seen that one. I'd like to see it. So
Yeah, I'll send you the link to it. It's one of those things. It was something that I enjoyed, and I think it kind of goes back to like what we talked about before when you said wrestling not being as accessible. Like you used to
we
hold on
found
to
that one
magazines.
thing and we honed in on
Yeah.
it.
And that was kind of me in high school, was because I would watch that documentary because that's the only one you had on wrestling, and it's like Flow's putting them out, and it gives me so much to watch, and I love it. I hope they keep doing this forever.
Oh, I do too. It's just kind of like that one season when they had all the Big Ten matches that weren't on television stuff, and we were kind of like, not that you can be overly inundated with wrestling because there is no such thing, but we were having to find time to catch up and rewatch matches, or not rewatch, but like, did you see that one yet? No, I got to watch that one next. It's on the queue, like.
Yeah, you get like a couple
obsession.
weeks behind.
It was a good thing. I'm never going to complain about that one because we went from that to back up. But
just imagine that. Here's the flip side of that coin. I'm not gonna keep harping on it, but say we do push our season back. During that November and Christmas break, how we're usually going to tournaments and all that. That would give us a lot more time to be watching some old matchups.
Like
if we were to push,
just practice and just get into it, I think it'd be a great time to get ready for it. So.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't have to worry about people making weight. We wouldn't have to worry about waking up on weekends.
I think there's
get a cup of coffee in the morning.
Could happen. Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, just sit and watch wrestling. Like Saturday's my relaxed day. No one bother me. Going to be on Flow.
Yep, there you go. So, all right, man. Well, I think this is a quick one for today. I want to talk more about senior nationals. Hopefully, maybe if we don't get to it before this weekend, which I'm not kind of busy trying to figure out if we can do it again. But definitely let's plan on trying to do it again, even if it is just really quick, and let's recap some senior national stuff.
Let's do it.
And then hopefully we'll have some more news on some other things. But like I said, just wanted to just get back together again and do this and chat it up, and then hopefully things will get to the point where maybe we can do this. I got to clean the room. The kids went down here. It's a mess. Ignore all this, but get us back in a room together would be nice too. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A nice cup of coffee and everything.
You got it, man. You got it. All right. Well, we'll holler at you. I'll get all this stuff up, and we'll have it up in a day or so. All right.
All right. See you.
Peace.
Bye bye.